There are moments in life when logic quietly steps aside and something deeper begins to speak. You may not hear it as a clear voice, but you feel it as a steady pull inside your chest. It does not rush you. It does not beg for attention. It simply stays. This is the place where meaning is born, and this is where your connection to this person lives. When you met them, something felt familiar long before you could explain why. It was not about their looks, their words, or even their actions at first. It was the feeling that you had known them before, even if you clearly had not. This kind of recognition does not come from memory. It comes from the deepest parts of the mind, the parts that store emotional truth rather than facts. Long before your thoughts formed opinions, something inside you already knew. The mind often resists this kind of connection. It asks questions, it looks for proof, it searches for flaws, timing issues, distance, fear, and past pain. Doubt does not appear because the connection is wrong. Doubt appears because the connection is powerful. When something touches the deepest layers of who you are, it also touches your unhealed places. The mind then tries to protect you by creating uncertainty. It says, "Be careful." But protection and truth are not always the same thing. This person reflects parts of you that you may not have fully seen before, not just the parts you like, but also the parts you avoid. That is why the connection feels intense. That is why it feels different from others. It is not meant to distract you from yourself. It is meant to bring you closer to who you truly are. Connections that are meant for us do not simply comfort us, they awaken us. You may notice that being connected to this person brings growth, even when it feels uncomfortable. You think more deeply. You question old patterns. You become aware of fears, habits, and beliefs you never examined before. This is not a coincidence. This is how meaningful connections work. They act like mirrors. They show you where you are whole and where you still need healing. A person who is meant for you does not complete you. They challenge you to complete yourself. Timing is another place where doubt hides. You may think, if this is real, why is it so complicated? But inner readiness does not always match outer circumstances. Sometimes two people meet before they are fully prepared to hold what they feel. That does not mean the connection is wrong. It means the growth is still happening. Life does not introduce significant people randomly. It introduces them when something inside you is ready to change. It is important to understand the difference between fantasy and true connection. Fantasy pulls you away from reality. It makes you smaller, anxious, and dependent. A real connection grounds you, even when it is intense. It encourages honesty, self-respect, and inner strength. Even in uncertainty, it does not erase your sense of self. If this connection, despite its challenges, pushes you to become more aware, more responsible for your emotions, and more aligned with your values, that is not illusion. That is meaning. Do not confuse fear with intuition. Fear is loud and urgent. It demands answers immediately. Intuition is calm. It does not argue. It simply knows. When you sit quietly with yourself without outside opinions, without pressure, and without imagination running wild, notice what remains. If the sense of recognition is still there, steady and unchanged, that is your answer. This person is not meant to save you, and you are not meant to save them. You are meant to walk beside each other while becoming more whole as individuals. That is why the connection feels serious, even when it has not fully formed yet. Meaningful bonds often begin internally before they take shape externally. So do not doubt this connection just because it challenges you. Do not dismiss it because it arrived differently than you expected. The deepest connections rarely follow neat timelines or simple logic. They follow inner truth. If this person brings you back to yourself, if they awaken growth instead of confusion, If they feel familiar in a way that cannot be explained, then trust that feeling, not blindly, not desperately, but quietly and steadily. Some connections are not meant to be rushed or forced. They are meant to be understood, respected, and allowed to unfold. And when a connection carries this much depth, this much reflection, and this much meaning, it is not random. This person is meant for you, and the part of you that truly knows has never doubted it at all. You didn't feel this connection by accident. Before logic had time to question it, before fear tried to label it as coincidence, something deep within your mind responded. A quiet signal activated, one that does not rely on words or evidence. It came as a pull, a knowing, a sense that something important had just entered your inner world. This is not imagination. This is psychological recognition. Your mind is designed to protect what matters most, and when a connection carries real power, it does not announce itself loudly. It moves beneath awareness, shaping your thoughts, stirring emotion, and disrupting old patterns without asking permission. That is why this feeling lingers, even when you try to reason it away. The deeper the impact, the less it needs explanation. What unsettles you is not uncertainty, but significance. Your psyche understands that this connection reaches places that ordinary interactions never touch. It threatens comfort, routine, and the stories you have told yourself to stay safe. That is why doubt follows so closely behind recognition. The mind resists what has the power to change it. This moment is not about romance or fantasy. It is about meaning. When something aligns with the core of who you are, it creates tension between who you have been and who you are becoming. That tension is the sign. It tells you that this experience is not random and not shallow. It has weight. You are not losing control. You are becoming aware of something that was already forming beneath the surface, waiting for the right trigger to bring it into consciousness. That feeling of familiarity that appears without any clear reason is one of the most misunderstood human experiences. It often arrives quietly, sometimes in the very first moments of meeting someone, before words have meaning or facts have formed. You may notice it as a sense of ease, a strange calm, or a recognition that does not come from memory. It feels as if something inside you has already met this person, even though your mind knows that this is impossible. This experience does not belong to logic, and that is why it is so difficult to explain or justify to yourself or to others. This kind of recognition comes from the deepest layers of the mind, where emotional patterns are stored. Long before we learn language, reason, or social rules, the psyche learns through feeling. It records emotional environments, tones of voice, presence, safety, and emotional resonance. When someone appears who matches one of these deeply stored patterns, the mind does not need time to analyze. It reacts instantly. The body may relax, the breath may deepen, or the heart may feel strangely settled. This is not imagination. It is the nervous system responding to something it understands on a level far older than thought. Many people confuse this feeling with attraction or infatuation, but they are not the same. Attraction is stimulating. It excites the senses and pulls attention outward. Familiar recognition does the opposite. It brings attention inward. It feels grounding rather than overwhelming. Even if the emotions are strong, there is often a quiet sense of "this makes sense" beneath them. You may feel seen without trying, understood without explaining, or accepted without performing. These responses do not come from fantasy. They come from resonance. This recognition often activates before trust is built, which can feel confusing. The mind may question it because trust is usually something we believe must be earned over time. But this feeling is not about trust in behavior. It is about alignment in emotional structure. It is the recognition of a similar inner rhythm. a compatible way of relating to the world, pain, love, and meaning. That is why it can feel immediate and unshakable, even when circumstances are uncertain. At the same time, this familiarity can trigger fear. When something feels deeply known, it also feels deeply vulnerable. The mind may search for reasons to doubt it because accepting it would mean opening places that were previously protected. Past wounds, disappointments, and unresolved grief can rise to the surface. The mind then tries to label the feeling as coincidence, projection, or illusion, not because it is false, but because it is powerful. This is also why this kind of recognition does not happen often. It requires a specific emotional match, not perfection, but resonance. It does not mean the person is flawless or that the connection will be easy. It means that something essential aligns. Something inside you recognizes something essential inside them. This recognition does not demand immediate action or certainty. It simply exists, steady and persistent, beneath doubt, beneath fear, beneath overthinking, continuing to surface in moments of stillness, in silence, in honesty, and in the quiet awareness that some connections are felt long before they are understood. The unconscious mind is constantly working beneath the surface, absorbing information, forming connections, and recognizing meaning long before conscious thought becomes involved. While the conscious mind relies on logic, words, and clear explanations, the unconscious speaks through feeling, intuition, and subtle emotional signals. This is why certain people feel significant to us almost immediately, even when we cannot explain why. The unconscious does not wait for evidence. It recognizes patterns instantly because it has been collecting them for a lifetime. From early experiences, the unconscious learns what emotional environments feel familiar. It stores impressions of care, neglect, safety, instability, warmth, and distance. These impressions become inner templates that shape how we respond to others. When someone enters our life who matches or strongly activates one of these templates, the unconscious reacts before the conscious mind has time to analyze the situation. This reaction may feel like a sudden sense of recognition, curiosity, emotional pull, or even discomfort mixed with attraction. The conscious mind often struggles with this process because it wants clear reasons. It asks practical questions, looks for visible proof, and compares past experiences. But the unconscious works through symbolism and emotional memory, not rational explanation. It understands meaning through feeling. That is why you may feel deeply drawn to someone whose background, lifestyle, or circumstances do not logically align with yours. The recognition does not come from similarity on the surface, but from a deeper emotional pattern that feels known. This early recognition can be both helpful and challenging. On one hand, it allows us to connect quickly and deeply. On the other, it can create confusion when the conscious mind tries to catch up. You may find yourself thinking about this person without knowing why, sensing their emotional state without communication, or feeling affected by their presence even in silence. These experiences are not signs of fantasy. They are signs that the unconscious has identified a meaningful pattern. However, unconscious recognition does not automatically mean the connection will be easy or even healthy. The unconscious is drawn to familiarity, not comfort. If early emotional patterns involved instability, inconsistency, or emotional distance, the unconscious may recognize those patterns as familiar, even if they caused pain in the past. This is why awareness is important. Recognition shows significance, not destiny. It signals that something inside you is being activated and brought into consciousness. As awareness grows, the conscious mind begins to engage with what the unconscious has already noticed. This is where growth happens. The conscious mind can observe, question, and choose how to respond, rather than being carried blindly by instinct. When both levels of the mind work together, recognition becomes a tool for understanding rather than confusion. The reason this process feels so powerful is because it bypasses ego and social conditioning. It does not care about image, status, or expectation. It responds to emotional truth. This is also why such connections often feel meaningful, even when they are unfinished or unresolved. The unconscious is not focused on outcomes. It is focused on integration. It draws attention to what needs to be seen, healed, or understood. When you trust this process without surrendering your discernment, you allow the unconscious and conscious to cooperate. The unconscious offers insight through feeling, and the conscious mind offers guidance through reflection. Together, they help you understand why certain people arrive in your life and why their presence feels significant long before you can explain it in words. Doubt often appears not when something is weak, but when something reaches deep enough to disturb what has been carefully protected inside. When a connection touches emotional wounds that have not fully healed, the mind reacts by creating uncertainty. This doubt is not a sign that the feeling is false. It is a response to vulnerability. The closer something comes to the core of who you are, the louder the inner resistance can become. Meaningful connections activate memories stored beneath awareness. These memories are not always clear images. They are emotional traces left by past experiences of closeness, rejection, abandonment, or loss. When someone triggers these layers, the body and mind remember the pain even if the current situation is different. Doubt then becomes a defense mechanism. It gives the mind a way to slow down, create distance, and avoid reopening wounds that once felt overwhelming. The mind prefers control over uncertainty. Deep emotional connections threaten that control because they cannot be predicted or managed through logic alone. When you begin to care in a way that feels beyond reason, the mind searches for ways to regain stability. It starts asking questions that seem practical on the surface but are rooted in fear. Questions about timing, intention, worth, or outcome often arise not because something is wrong, but because something meaningful feels at risk. Old beliefs also play a role. If past experiences taught you that closeness leads to pain, betrayal, or loss of self, doubt will surface as a warning. It whispers that it is safer not to trust, not to hope, not to open fully. These beliefs may no longer reflect your current reality, but they remain active until they are consciously examined. Doubt, in this sense, is not an enemy. It is a signal that an old story is being challenged. This is why doubt often coexists with a strong sense of recognition or attachment. You may feel pulled towards someone while simultaneously questioning everything about the connection. This inner conflict can feel exhausting, but it serves a purpose. It brings unconscious fears into awareness so they can be addressed rather than silently controlling your choices. When doubt surfaces, it invites reflection rather than immediate action or rejection. The intensity of doubt is often proportional to the importance of the connection. Casual interactions rarely trigger deep questioning. Only connections that matter enough to affect your identity, values, or emotional safety create this kind of inner turbulence. The mind reacts strongly because it senses that accepting this connection could change you. Change, even positive change, is unsettling to parts of the psyche that rely on familiarity. Learning to sit with doubt without letting it dominate is part of emotional maturity. Suppressing doubt only strengthens it, while blindly obeying it can lead to avoidance and missed growth. The goal is to understand where the doubt originates. When you slow down and observe it, you may notice that it speaks in the language of past pain rather than present reality. It refers to what once hurt, not what is happening now. As awareness grows, doubt loses its grip. It no longer controls decisions, but becomes information. It shows where healing is still needed and where trust is learning to grow. When you recognize doubt as a response to vulnerability rather than a verdict on truth, it becomes less frightening. It transforms from an obstacle into a guide, pointing toward deeper self-understanding and emotional integration. Inner growth and timing are deeply connected, even though they rarely move at the same pace as our desires. People often believe that meeting the right person should instantly lead to clarity, stability, and certainty. In reality, meaningful connections often appear at moments when something inside is still forming. The meeting itself becomes part of the growth, not the reward at the end of it. This is why timing can feel confusing, delayed, or imperfect, even when the connection feels right. Every person carries unfinished emotional lessons. These lessons are shaped by past relationships, family dynamics, and personal struggles that have not yet been fully understood or integrated. Inner growth happens when these patterns begin to surface and are consciously examined. When someone enters your life who reflects these patterns, the connection may feel significant but unstable. This instability does not mean the connection is wrong. It means it is activating areas where growth is still required. Timing is not just about external circumstances like distance, availability, or life stage. It is also about psychological readiness. Two people can care deeply for each other and still be unable to meet in a balanced way if one or both are still learning essential emotional skills. These may include setting boundaries, communicating honestly, regulating emotions, or maintaining a sense of self within closeness. Without these skills, even a strong connection can feel overwhelming or confusing. Sometimes people meet before they are ready to hold what the connection asks of them. This early meeting can feel painful because it highlights what is missing rather than what is present. It may create longing, frustration, or a sense of almost but not yet. Yet this experience often becomes the motivation for inner work. The connection plants a seed that continues to influence growth long after the initial contact changes or pauses. Inner growth cannot be rushed to match external desire. It unfolds through reflection, discomfort, and repeated awareness. When someone resists this process and tries to force timing, the connection often becomes strained. Pressure replaces presence. Fear replaces curiosity. This is why allowing space for growth is essential. Space is not abandonment, it is a condition for integration. As inner growth continues, perception changes. Old expectations soften, reactive patterns lose intensity, the need for certainty decreases. At this stage, timing begins to feel different. Either the connection naturally finds a more stable form, or it gently releases without bitterness. In both cases, growth has occurred. The connection has fulfilled its purpose by helping you become more aligned with yourself. This perspective shifts how timing is understood. Instead of seeing delays or obstacles as failures, they are recognized as part of the process. Life does not withhold meaningful connections to punish or test. It introduces them when they can serve development. Sometimes that development happens within the relationship. Sometimes it happens in the space around it. When inner growth and timing begin to align, the connection feels calmer. There is less urgency and less fear of loss. Choices are made from clarity rather than desperation. This alignment does not guarantee permanence, but it allows authenticity. It allows two people to meet as they are rather than as they wish to be. Understanding timing in this way reduces self-blame and confusion. It reframes difficulty as information rather than rejection. When you accept that growth and timing work together, patience becomes easier. You stop asking why something has not worked yet and begin noticing how it is shaping who you are becoming. Many people struggle to tell the difference between fantasy attachment and genuine psychological resonance because both can feel intense at first. Fantasy attachment is driven by imagination, projection, and unmet emotional needs. It forms quickly and feeds on what is hoped for rather than what is actually experienced. The mind fills in gaps, creates stories, and assigns meaning based on desire instead of reality. This type of attachment often feels exciting, consuming, and urgent, but it is unstable because it depends on illusion rather than understanding. Fantasy attachment usually focuses on who the other person could be rather than who they truly are. Small gestures are magnified, inconsistencies are ignored, and warning signs are explained away. The connection feels powerful, but it exists mostly in thought. When contact is limited or unclear, the attachment often grows stronger instead of calmer. This is because imagination takes over where real interaction is missing. The more uncertain the situation, the more the mind tries to control it through fantasy. Genuine psychological resonance works differently. It is based on presence rather than projection. It develops through real interaction, emotional honesty, and shared awareness. While it can be intense, it also feels grounding. There is space to breathe, reflect, and remain connected to oneself. Instead of creating obsession, it encourages clarity. You may still think about the person often, but the thoughts are not frantic or compulsive. They are accompanied by a sense of recognition rather than longing. Another key difference lies in how each affects your sense of self. Fantasy attachment often pulls you away from yourself. You may overanalyze messages, change behavior to gain approval, or feel anxious about losing the connection. Your emotional state becomes dependent on the other person's responses. In contrast, genuine resonance strengthens self-awareness. Even when uncertainty exists, you remain connected to your values and boundaries. The connection does not erase your identity, it supports it. Fantasy attachment avoids discomfort by idealizing. It resists seeing limitations, incompatibilities, or emotional reality. When reality breaks through, disappointment feels sharp and disorienting because it shatters the imagined story. Genuine resonance does not require perfection. It allows flaws to exist without destroying the connection. Discomfort can be discussed rather than avoided. Tension becomes something to understand, not escape. Time also reveals the difference. Fantasy attachment burns fast and often collapses under pressure. It thrives on intensity but struggles with consistency. Genuine resonance may grow more slowly, but it deepens with understanding. Instead of needing constant stimulation, it values meaningful exchange. Silence does not feel like threat. Distance does not automatically mean rejection. Emotionally, fantasy attachment often creates highs and lows. You may feel euphoric one moment and anxious the next. Genuine resonance creates emotional depth without constant turbulence. Even when emotions are strong, there is a sense of steadiness beneath them. You feel more real, not lost. Recognizing this difference requires honesty. It means observing not just how much you feel, but how you feel. Does the connection pull you into imagination or bring you into the present moment? Does it make you smaller or more grounded? Does it depend on constant reassurance or allow trust to grow naturally? When you look closely, the body often knows the answer before the mind accepts it. A connection that is truly meaningful does not ask you to disappear into it. Instead, it quietly invites you to become more complete within yourself. When someone is meant to walk alongside you, their presence tends to highlight areas of your life that need attention, growth, or integration. This process can feel uncomfortable at times because becoming whole requires facing parts of yourself that were previously ignored or avoided. Yet this discomfort is not a sign of loss. It is a sign of expansion. Such a connection often challenges old patterns. You may notice habits that no longer serve you, emotional reactions that feel automatic, or beliefs about yourself that limit your growth. The presence of the other person brings these patterns into awareness, not through criticism, but through contrast. You begin to see where you compromise yourself, where you seek validation, or where you avoid honesty. This awareness is not meant to shame you, it is meant to empower you. When a connection encourages wholeness, it does not rely on control or dependence. There is space for individuality, reflection, and self-responsibility. You are not required to give up your values, dreams, or sense of identity to maintain closeness. In fact, the more you honor your authentic self, the healthier the connection becomes. This kind of bond respects boundaries because it understands that true closeness grows from inner stability, not sacrifice of self. You may also find that this connection motivates inner work. You become more curious about your emotional responses and more willing to examine your fears. Instead of projecting insecurity onto the other person, you begin to look inward. This shift changes the dynamic of the relationship. It becomes less about reassurance and more about mutual understanding. Growth becomes shared, even when it is deeply personal. Wholeness does not mean perfection. It means integration. It means allowing all parts of yourself to exist without rejection. A meaningful connection supports this process by making it safer to be honest. You feel encouraged to express both strength and vulnerability. You are not loved only when you are calm or confident, but also when you are uncertain or reflective. This acceptance reduces the need to perform or hide. Over time, this kind of connection tends to simplify rather than complicate your inner world. While it may initially stir deep emotions, it ultimately brings clarity. You gain a stronger sense of what you need, what you can offer, and what you will no longer tolerate. Decisions become more aligned with your values. You are less likely to abandon yourself for the sake of closeness. Importantly, a connection that supports wholeness does not guarantee permanence. People sometimes assume that if something is meant to help them grow, it must last forever. That is not always true. Some connections fulfill their purpose by awakening self-awareness and then naturally changing form. What matters is not duration, but impact. When you look back, you may realize that this person entered your life at a precise moment when you were ready to see yourself more clearly. Their role was not to complete you, but to remind you of parts of yourself that were waiting to be reclaimed. Through this process, you become less dependent on external validation and more rooted in self-trust. You learn that the most meaningful connections are not those that consume you, but those that help you stand more fully in who you are